Hello again. Now, over 81,000 old taxis have been scrapped through the Taxi Recapitalisation Programme. This scheme started in 2006 and has seen more than 5.6 million rand paid out in scrapping allowances. And the Department of Transport says the majority of taxi vehicles now meet all the safety requirements that were introduced through this program. The department continues to work with taxi associations to encourage their members to scrap old taxis. Well, to discuss this, how is this program helping the taxi industry, how it is helping to improve the safety aspect of the industry, I'm joined by Theo Malele from one of the taxi associations. This one is the National Taxi Alliance. He's the national spokesperson. Theo Malele, good afternoon. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for coming to our studios.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to your viewers, and thanks for having me.
When you heard me reading this intro that things seem to be going well, over 81,000, old taxis have been scrapped, government is positive, what is your response?
Look, as an industry, we support this initiative, even though one must actually, upfront make mention of some of the frills that have been put onto this, recapitalization program. You have roller bars for safety, granted. You also have safety belts, throughout the whole vehicle. But do those safety belts get used? It's a big no. They don't get used, and it's a cost to us as operators.
And passengers are not using them.
Passengers are not using them, and that actually pushes even the cost of the vehicle much higher, And then in return, it becomes quite difficult to contend with your monthly financial obligations. They would vary from 12,000 to 17,000 for per vehicle per month.
Whose responsibility is it to ensure the passengers they fasten the seatbelts?
Obviously, it's law enforcement's responsibility, and partially we too must.
Your drivers have
to play a part. But then the drivers cannot force these people to wear the safety belts. But let me also, Bradeza, bring to your attention the other modes that were brought about by, the guys of TRP, the Chinese vehicles, for an example. Those vehicles, the seats are so narrow, and we are generally huge people. And ladies that are actually highly expectant cannot, utilize those vehicles. Neither would they be comfortable using, the safety belts.
And those have been imported from China as part of the TRP.
Yes, as part of the TRP. Program. And those vehicles came in around 2008. You'd remember that, from the very inception, those vehicles were like wrecks. They were spending more time in the workshops than on the roads.
So let me ask you this question. Has the Taxi Recapitalisation Programme worked well for you as an association, as your industry, and has it improved certain aspects of your activities?
I think yes and no. From the inception, you would recall that the scrapping allowance was 50,000. And at that time...
Per vehicle?
Per vehicle. And those vehicles were retailing at around 300,000. And we cried foul over that to say at least the recapitalization portion should be at least half of the value of a brand new vehicle.
At the time?
At the time.
Yeah, I seem to recall that.
Yes, and we still are advocating for that, even though it has been brought up to 151,000 rand.
As we speak?
As we speak, but those vehicles are now retailing at about 400,000 rand.
So you would still insist on having 200,000 rand?
At least if it's half, then it would offset some of the pressures on the operators.
Yeah. Is that why some of your guys in the industry, I understand, who are buying taxis, for example, are also struggling to make repayments?
Yes. I mean, you can imagine if you were to repay a vehicle over a period of 7 years, by the 7th year, that car is a wreck. So it actually perpetuates, the struggle on the taxi industry side. So you basically now have to, gather money to refurbish that vehicle. and you wouldn't have been able to can also generate extra revenue throughout the years because the maintenance costs are so high, the repayment value is also very high.
And then you run the risk. Are many of your members having their taxis repossessed by the financiers?
Yes. And you must also recall that the University of Johannesburg conducted a study that looked into our finances, our daily revenues. It revealed that 40% of revenue that's supposed to come to us as operators ends up with the drivers. So it has been a vicious circle for taxi operators to be able to maintain their vehicles. Yes, many vehicles get repossessed, and there are other corporates that actually do that. They repossess the vehicles, refurbish them, refinance them, resell them again to unsuspecting taxi operators at a much higher price and a higher HP value.
What's the impact of this repossession that is happening? Do you have any numbers for us? I mean, are these various financiers repossessing hundreds or thousands of taxis?
Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers, but I know for a fact that the impact that it has, it has a health impact. These guys would have high blood pressures, would have sugar diabetes. It actually brings up, these, ailments. Stress-related ailments, so to say.
So there's that big impact. And you as an association, as a National Taxi Alliance, I don't know how big is your membership. Are you seeing numbers shrinking currently because of the picture you've just painted for us, the challenges that you're facing?
Look, our footprint spreads throughout the country. We have members throughout the country. The question of repossession of vehicles, it's happening mostly with a particular financier whose prices are also exorbitant.
Who's that?
I cannot, make mention of that on air for fear of reprisal.
But there's a particular financier?
There is a particular financier who is actually financing these vehicles, who is inconsiderate when it comes to the repayment of these vehicles, and also to partially understand the rationale behind why these people are unable to meet their monthly financial obligations.
Yeah, and the other financiers, are they more reasonable than this one that you don't want to mention?
Well, some are, and it was evidenced during the COVID-19 when we actually made these interventions and we spoke to these financiers. The majority of them gave us a payment holiday. Because those were difficult times.
But this particular problematic financier, according to you, did not give you a payment holiday?
All that they said was that you had to have your account up to date for you to be considered, and knowing very well. There's an instrument used here called a route calculator. It actually determines the actual revenue on a daily basis.
On a particular route.
Your revenue generation, yes, so to say. I am of the view that this instrument gets inflated in order for us to get these vehicles, because if you look at the pattern of the ridership, it has dropped. A lot of people are unemployed, and there is also e-hailing, which has also taken a greater chunk of our market share. There is also Uber van, and there is also a status symbol aspect of upcoming kids that from school would want to buy their own vehicles in order to be seen to have arrived. And what we now need to do is we need to move away from the old practices that we had, because today's commuter is not the same as the previous commuter. So we're busy working.
Is the industry adapting quick enough?
Yes, we are.
What are you doing?
We're working on a fourth industrial revolution. Very soon we will make those pronouncements. We've done intensive work, in terms of research, and the signs are very positive. The majority that we've spoken to are very much upbeat about this, and is going to help us a great deal. We will be accountable. Government should be able to can subsidize the passengers because of this system. We should also be able to can recoup all our finances on a daily basis, and we should also be able to can remove cash from the commuter masses on a daily basis.
How tight are margins nowadays with the fuel cost being up as well?
Wow, the fuel has been a moving target. It then becomes also difficult to also adjust and adapt with it. But the margins are are so squeezed that we need some form of intervention.
And short of that intervention, you're going to keep on passing on the extra cost to the passengers, to the commuters. They're going to have to pay more fares to travel different routes, whether short distance or long distance.
But then we are a community-based business. We try and absorb some of the punches. We try and be considerate when it comes to the adjustments of our fares. All businesses adjust their tariffs on an annual basis, but the taxi industry delays that.
So the kind of intervention you'd look for would be like subsidies, more subsidies? What do they look like today?
Obviously, what we are advocating for is that the passenger has to be subsidized so that it then becomes the passenger's prerogative as to which mode do they utilize along a particular corridor on a particular day. Because currently we are charging charity fares as opposed to market-related fares.
Okay, give me an example of a number.
No, because we are a community-based business. So if we are to charge correctly, our people will not be able to can afford our prices. You see most of the vehicles on the street, some are so dilapidated. Not that I'm actually in support of that, but it's because there aren't sufficient money.
Yeah, no, I just want to get a sense of what difference would it be between a commercial market-related fare and what you call a charity fare. Like on a route where I'll be paying 10 Rand to move from point A to point B, if it was a market-related fee, how less would I pay?
Now, look, with the subsidy portion, obviously the prices are not the same.
Yes, I understand.
The one route is not the same as the other. But we probably are looking at, we will have to rework our prices so that commuters don't spend more than 10% of their disposable income on public transport. And currently 60% of their disposable income is spent on public transport.
Okay, let's get back to where we started about the recapitalization program. I said what we're hearing from government is that there's still there's a shortfall in terms of the target which was set.
Yeah.
I mean, currently they've done over 81,000 old taxi vehicles. The target that was set in 2006 was 135,000. Sure. That's what we know. So there's a shortage of another 54,000 that needs to be met. Are you in support of the ongoing program, despite some of the misgivings you've expressed? And what will you as a taxi industry do to make sure that that 54,000 target is
always encourage our members to go and apply for scrapping, or apply a permit specifically for scrapping purposes. But we would also want to request from the authorities that the scrapping should not only be at 2006, the downward, it should also go up to 2008, so that we're able to can remove all these Chinese vehicles on the road that are not safe as well.
And the 200,000, because you say currently a vehicle will cost about 400,000 plus, give or take. You would be advocating for rather giving us 150,000 now.
At least half of the
value, which would be 200,000.
Yeah.
Are you going to be pushing for that?
Yeah, we certainly are. We certainly are. And especially, the Chinese vehicle, we are saying let this be brought up to 2008 so that we remove these vehicles as well on the road, because they are an eyesore. I mean, those vehicles have not been long in the market, but in the first year, we already had mechanical issues with them. In the second year, they were just falling apart. As you see them on the roads, they are a disgust to the industry.
Thank you very much for your time. That's Theo Malele. He's, of course, the national spokesperson of the National Taxi Alliance, responding to some of our questions about the recapitalization program that began in 2006, which they still support, but they need some changes. including government paying rather half of the current value of a replacing vehicle when the next round of getting rid of old vehicles goes on. And of course, they don't want these Chinese vehicles, as he says. And they're battling. They're battling currently to repay some of those vehicles. And one particular financier, whom Mr. Malele would not name here today, is apparently the problem child. We'll find out who that is here on eNCA shortly. I can promise you that. Now, still